man, you know, the more I work on the scale, the more I love this scale. It's just so awesome. Like, it's a lot more work, but oh, the rewards are just incredible. Like, it kind of reminds me of my days working in film. It's just, I don't know, it feels like 1/16 scale feels like real world kind of modeling. It's hard to explain. There's so many aspects of it that's so far out. How's everybody doing? So barbed wire, I'll just give you, as part of the segment here, a quick overview of the materials that you're going to need. Okay, so if you're going to substitute other materials, then don't lament to me that it didn't work out for you. If you have a better way of doing it, then by all means do it, right? But this is the way I do it, and it's successful for me. Okay, so as most of you know, I use this without fail, matte medium by Liquitex Professional. And I've had people say, well, I don't know where you get that. Well, you just get it from an art supply store. That's it. Like, go to an art supply store instead of hobby shops all the time, and you'll find stuff that'll open your mind to other possibilities. Okay, then you'll need some thread. This is cotton thread. So you just pick the size or the gauge of thread or whatever that you feel is appropriate for the scale. In this case, it's 1/16. You're going to need some Woodland Scenic static grass. I like to use 2 mil. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's dark, light, straw colored. It really doesn't matter because you're going to airbrush or paint the barbed wire anyway. And basically, I pointed out I stretched the thread across. Like, you're going to need a hanging rack too. So, because if you get this stuff tangled up together, like real barbed wire, good luck untangling it. It can be a real bear. Like, this is a job or a particular subject matter that requires a little bit of space to stretch your thread and to hang your strands of barbed wire to dry, and then you got to paint them and then roll them up, etc. So here is the painted section, okay, and it looks really good. I'm really impressed with it. Okay, now this I double wrapped, so I did one strand like this, okay, and then I did this, like, after I painted it, I wrapped another thread around it, because some barbed wire is double stranded, but a lot of the barbed wire in World War II was about economics, right? It was single stranded. So a lot of barbed wire today you'll see will be dual or whatever. Okay, so that's the different options that you have. But I find that once you go to paint it, to sort of roll it up in a big loop like this, excuse my fat hands, okay, and then when you paint it, you'll get better coverage. Like, just lay them all out, but don't wrap them too tightly, because believe me, can you imagine trying to untangle real barbed wire? It's not going to happen, right? Okay, so there it is. Thread, 2 millimeter static grass, and Liquitex acrylic medium, in this case matte medium. And the reason why is because it just, you'll find out when you use this that viscosity matters, and the fact that it doesn't dry too quickly, because you're going to be putting 12, 15, 16 little blobs of glue and then sprinkling on the static grass, and if it dries too quick, it's not going to grab. So matte medium stays sort of pliable for quite a while, and you don't want a room temperature or a fan running or room temperature that's too high either. But you'll get used to that, and you can add a little bit of water anyway. You can water this down. But you're going to discover a method as you're doing it. Your first few strands are not going to work out for you. In fact, I've had to retouch some of them, like just restretch them, which was easy once the initial barbs were laid on. And you just sprinkle them on like I showed, and you'll end up with awesome scale barbed wire for 1/16 scale, okay? So after thinking about it for a while, I thought, how can I make barbed wire for this 1/16 scale Juno diorama? It's a detail that you really can't omit, especially in World War I, World War II. They must have made 1,000,000 miles of it. So I was thinking, what would be the best way to make barbed wire? So I took a piece of really small diameter cotton thread, took a wet brush with matte medium, made 2 or 3 passes over it, just soak the thread, stretch it between 2 nails, okay? So it stiffens it up, and then take some 4mm Woodland Scenic Static Grass. I'll show you this in a second here. So you'll say, oh, there's too many barbs. Well, just wait until it dries, and then you just run this through your fingers, and most of them will fall off because there's 4 barbs on every barb for barbed wire. There's about 4, so you just want to capture the look, right? Okay, see that? So probably put a little bit more in because a lot of it's going to come off, and it should leave 3 or 4 on there. So what I'll do is I'll just take my airbrush, some rusty brown, once I strip it through my fingers and it's all sealed, and then it should look pretty cool. I'll make, I don't know, this is about 8 feet long, this thread stretch, so I'll make 3 or 4 of these and then just roll them up because it'll be stiff enough to roll this thread just like scale barbed wire, and I think it'll look pretty good. Now if you're really picky, you could use smaller diameter thread and use 2mm Static Grass by Woodland Scenics, okay? And then once again, my friend matte medium, right? Thread and 4mm Static Grass. Color doesn't matter because you're probably going to airbrush it anyway, okay? Okay, so I just want to briefly mention about the painting of the barbed wire. So this was kind of a gangly, really messy affair and just does not videotape well. Trust me, it does not, because it's probably the most difficult or frustrating part of the whole diorama build is barbed wire. You'll find out when you make it, because it's like real barbed wire, and if it gets tangled up, like, you're hooped, right? So you can see how I put it all in loops. That's how I painted it. I flipped all these cloths because they're almost black on the other side, but I would gently lay them, overlap them like this, you know, just to get efficiency of paint coverage. And then I had to unravel each one just to make sure that it didn't get, you know, like the thread or the green Static Grass didn't get missed. Like I had to cover them pretty much in this dark umber. To me, umber with isopropyl alcohol. And umber, again, I'll say is black and brown, 50-50, give or take. So now I have some linoleum deck brown. It's like a rust. And I'm just going to give them just, you know, a couple of these. That's it. Like, they wouldn't be super rusted after 3 years, but, you know, there would be some hints of it. And there would probably also be some hints of gray as well, which I'll probably use in this case. What do I got sitting here? Oh yeah, this will work, this JN gray. So just give it a couple shots of that. And then I'm going to take each one like this and then just start applying them to the model, which is kind of nice. Like they should unravel okay. Okay? So this is the double-stranded barbed wire, which is the main hanger wire. I only made one of these. It was quite fiddly to make, a lot of work. And I settled for just single strand because there's a lot of single strand barbed wire, and for the loops it'll be fine. So I'm just going to feed these through, and just, this is kind of fun. I've been waiting for this. I think I mentioned this for quite a while to actually do this part. Man, you know, the more I work in this scale, the more I love this scale. It's just so awesome. Like, it's a lot more work, but oh, the rewards are just incredible. Like, it kind of reminds me of my days working in film. It's just, I don't know, it feels like 1/16 scale feels like real world kind of modeling. It's hard to explain. There's so many aspects of it that's so far out. So I guess this will go across like that to another hanger, and then down, and then back, and then across again. Yeah, I guess that's how it would work, because the loops are going to have to go get fed in there. There's like loops like this. See the loops? I guess they were, you know, when they laid on barbed wire, a lot of people don't think about it, but, you know, they must have thought about economy too, right? Like, you know, like spread it out, like make it work. There must have been a certain ratio when they laid it up. But in here, it looks like they just stuffed that stairwell just full of, looks like a rat's nest in there. I don't know, maybe some of that got damaged from the blast. Not really sure, but anyway, it's pretty fascinating, the things you learn as you model you know, subjects like this. So I'm going to work more on that then, and then we'll get into the looping, okay? So I just want to also mention, like, these standoffs for the barbed wire, I'm really glad that I made them out of metal because I got a reef on these things. Like, it would have been a mistake if they were plastic and they're pulling out as I'm, you know, threading this barbed wire, because, you know, the resistance of the barbs. With the matte medium and the static grass barbs, like, I can't believe how rigid this stuff is. Like, I am completely sold on these materials and mediums that I've been sharing. Show me something that's better, that's more user-friendly than this. Non-toxic, resilient, flat, transparent, just, you know, I mean, I had no idea, like, this is so tough. Like, even though this thread is pretty strong, because it's basically been, you know, embedded with matte medium by adding all the barbs, it's yeah, I don't know what I'd do without it, because PVA is just, it's just too brittle, and I don't like its drying properties and so on. But anyway, so this barbed wire, there's a dual line here. So, and then there's this kind of interesting sort of S kind of weave through here that I'll be doing. And I'm just wondering, like, I don't want to run out of barbed wire. Like, I have 11 loops left, like 11 of these actually, which are 4 feet long. So that's 40, that's 44 feet. Oh yeah, I should have plenty, 44 feet. But by the time you wind it and everything. Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm gonna do there. And then I do have the poles. I don't even know if I'm going to use them, but we'll have a look, okay? But in the meantime, I'm going to keep weaving and building up this barbed wire. I was beginning to be a bit concerned prior to this, excuse my hands for a second, as to how many of these I had, like these loops of barbed wire. They're 4 foot lengths, like each loop is 4 feet. And I made 16. And when I was making them, I was thinking, oh man, how many am I going to make of these? Like, there was a lot of work. And then I thought, well, if 16 won't do it, then nothing will. And this is still the first one, like the main line, and I'm quite pleased with how far it's going. And then I was always also wondering about the scale of the barbed wire, because you always think smaller, right? You're thinking 1/35 or 1/48 or whatever. And I keep reminding myself, no, this is 1/16. And I'm quite pleased. It actually looks very good. So, it's nice when things go right like that, and like you can see kind of, this is an indication of how it's going to look like. Man, I love that. It's just, anyway, we'll keep going, and then we'll start getting some loops on the bunker, and then I have to figure out how I'm going to run it at the back here. I've got that, the poles that I did, the apparatus. I'm going to have to string that up too and stuff that pole down the stairwell in there and put one of those crosses in here somewhere, and then anchor it to this stanchion probably. And then there'll be, I don't know, I might have a sign that says mining, or whatever, and then, because they did have ethics back then, like in wartime. And then there's the Nan sector flag, which I'm going to have. That, like, that's a cheat. It would have been further down, but I'm going to have the Nan red, white, sector flag. That they would have put that up, the first waves, to indicate to the Navy, this is where the landing is. This is, well, there were several points where they breached. Anyway, I'll just keep at her here. Okay, how's everybody doing? So I want to show you, I've been weaving barbed wire. I have 5 loops left, like rolls, like these here. So I had, I think, 16 to begin with. Yeah, or 14. Anyway, I've taken up about 9 just to do this. It gets eaten up pretty fast, and I'm really glad that I made 15 loops or whatever, because it'll be enough with 5 more of these left. So I've just been having fun here, as you can see, sort of methodically trying to do this section of the Atlantic wall as, like, to do justice to the photos. Like here, I'll just show you for those of you that don't have any context. So here's 3 photos I'll show you quick. So here's a shot looking down. So see this Tobruk bunker here? So a lot of people don't realize, like, in behind, like, I've modeled like just this half because the diorama ends where my finger is there. But there was a whole nother section back here in trenches, which obviously, like, they're not even there now in the real, like in 2025. This is, though, but this is all filled in on the top. But they had to cut that away because it's a breezeway, a walkway along the beach. But anyway, so this, like, this scene is this scene here, and I'll come in a bit closer with this photo. You can see the Canadians here, 3rd Army. There's probably Queen's Own rifles here. There's the top there. You can see the water-cooled Vickers machine gun. Like, this is further back, which I didn't model, because if I had to model it, like, I'd only model the end of it like that, and it would look silly, like, on the fascia. So I just left it out, because sometimes you have to do that. But you can see the barbed wire and how I did it here, and the blast damage, which is probably overemphasized a bit, but there's quite a bit down here. You just can't see it. But it's a good rendition of it, I think, anyway. And then you can see there's a ladder here, which I'll also be doing. Like, the ladder's going to go in here, because they just went right over top, because they would have had to wait for engineers to clear all this. See, you can see the stairwell in here. It's just full of loops of barbed wire. And then this part here is quite unique. Like, the way they put these poles out so that you couldn't, like, climb up and get up over, right? Like, see how they're cantilevered out like that, the barbed wire? Like, isn't that neat? So that was something I just did. Like, I made these out of metal. This is stem wire, which had cardboard wrapper on it, but I soaked them in acrylic medium and then added texture to them, and they're really stiff and bendable. So that's why I put them there, because, they might get banged and roughed a bit now and again, and they got to stand up. You can see, like, here in the photo, there's 3 of them there. I don't know why they didn't have them along here, but around the bunker they did, and way down here, like to the next bunker. They had them all along there as well. So that's faithful to the photo. And then there's this really small photo, and you can see the rat's nest of barbed wire. Like I'm going to do those loops in here for this part. And then you can see there's a pole that goes up here that would go right here, which I'll probably add, but we'll see. And then there's the camo net sort of hanging over, which I'll take liberties. I'll drape it over further just to kind of blend away some of this kind of idea or whatever. Yeah, so I got to tell you that the diorama, like I'll say this in closing, this is the most incredible medium I've ever experienced. Like when I started as a kid, like I still feel the same way 50 years later. Like I never grew tired of it. And in fact, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I just find it to be like the ultimate art form. Like for me, that is, right? And when I build a diorama, and I've mentioned this before, is I don't really think of the vehicle or the figurine that much. I mean, I do, it simmers in the background, but if I can't build a diorama that can tell a story standing on its own, like that's just my philosophy. I know it's different for everybody, but I want to be able to flesh out the whole story with, in the absence of the vehicle and the character sort of driven story, like alone, like almost like you walked up to it, and you know what I mean? And so by adding the vehicle and or figurine, that's sort of the icing on the cake, and that's part of it too. Like model kit building is awesome as well, but why not have the best of both worlds and learn the art of the diorama, because it is the pinnacle, I think, of all military modeling. But anyway, thanks for following this part along, and the barbed wire is almost there. I'll just show you the back here. Like see the, like this is all prototypical, this woodwork, but I had to sort of create my own sort of version of it because it goes down the stairs and then it, you know, it kind of comes back like this, and then you got to end it at the edge. Like the fascia is, oh yeah, I should just say the fascia is all finished. It's pristine, painted and done and masked off for protection, which really indicates I'm on the home stretch here, because when this is all done, I just peeled the tape and it's done, right? Okay, so you can see that, man, I really love looking down like this and different angles. Like when you look down through here too, I love that. Anyway, so I've been reading several books on this particular operation, you know, the Canadians' Third Army at Juno Beach, which never gets any press, by the way. I don't know why over the decades it just hasn't. I mean, they were the ones that faced all the major panzer divisions, the Canadians, right? Especially during Operation Totalize before the Falaise Gap. So anyway, really feeling good about it, and while reading the books as I'm building it for inspiration and passion. And I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Feel free to subscribe if you want. It's free. And I just want to say, I hope that you have a great day. Happy modeling. Okay, cheers.